Probably what most people, most new viewers, don't appreciate about my channel and the things I say is that, it's a philosophy channel, people. And philosophy means the love of knowledge. So it isn't about having any unfounded biases or laying any claim to any particular story you like about the world. No, I mean, philosophy basically is to try as best we can to dismantle the world. And it's quite easy to do. It really is easy to do. And so, lots of you look at my videos and you probably don't like what I say, a lot of the stuff, because it maybe destabilises yourself, your family, your loved ones, things that you consider important, your vocation, your job, the mortgage that you have and providing for your family and the security and all that sort of stuff. But, the things I speak about have little concern with those things because they're all kind of silly, really, at the end of the day. Like, the obligation of a mortgage. It's just absurd. And what's really absurd about it is the amount of money that people pay and the amount of bondage that we have to enter into if we want to engage in that. 25 years, the average mortgage, where you're going to pay at least double the price of this massively overinflated property. In principle, the idea of lending money for people to buy a house is okay, it's a good thing. But you see, it's become massively corrupt and the property prices are obscene for what they are. Because if you look at like a modern house like this one here, now I used to work in the building and I used to work on many building sites where we would build houses like that from scratch. They're basically Lego and there isn't anything of any value in them at all. The roofs are just built out of flimsy, weak, cheap pine struts with cheap tiles on top of a bit of a thin layer of bitumen to keep the rain out. And the bricks are just clay and mortar, and then inside the cavity there's some fibrous insulation and then a concrete slab and a few fucking pipes and electric wires. That's it, people. That's a house. Modern house. In the old days when they used to build houses out of quality materials, well, there'd be a different ball game. But these days they're just thrown up Lego style, and really they hardly cost anything to produce. But these figures have been manipulated, and we'll all be aware that people who want to get on the bottom of the ladder of the property chain as individuals, unless they are on a shocking amount of money for their first job or whatever, they can't do it. The vast majority of people have to buy in partnerships. So it's another conspiracy, people, to keep people bonded, to keep them absolutely tied into their marriage, tied into their mortgages, tied into their jobs, tied into their societal indoctrinations and forced obligations. That's what's going on. It's all very, very neat and tidy in that respect. And when I was working in my business, and I had thousands of pounds, I had like £60,000 stuck up the chimney of the mother of my daughter's house because I didn't want it in the banks, and I had about 80 grand in the bank at that time. And then I had properties, several properties abroad and in this country, and I had a lot of money. But when I had that money, I travelled to Bulgaria because a friend of mine went to holiday there, and he came back and he said, like, you won't believe how cheap the property is in Bulgaria. And Bulgaria, where's that? Oh, it's, next to Romania, and it's over on the Black Sea, and this, that and the other. He says, I'm going back again in a couple of weeks. I'm going to buy some land or one of these old houses. Do you want to come? And I went, fuck yeah. So I stuck 5 grand in my pocket as a deposit, because he was saying that you can buy a house for £2,000 or £3,000. Now, that was true. Can you imagine, people? That was true. But let's get things in perspective. These houses, they were in a village whereby they were built in such a way that they were damp, and they never had sufficient or adequate water supply and electricity, mostly because the electricity would be run off the odd pylon here and there, and it would be spread so thinly, so it would be weak. And when you was in your house, you turn one light on and all the others would go dim, because they never had the supply. So they had these issues, and so you'd have to get a fresh supply of electricity in and a fresh water main put in. But the prices to do this were very inexpensive because labour was super cheap. People worked for £3 a day when I first went to Bulgaria in 2006. People working in offices and in restaurants and that were working for £3 a day. So things were very affordable. So I bought lots of properties, and I didn't buy things for 3 or 4, 5,000. I went higher end, and I was buying properties for like 50,000, 70,000, 65,000, around these figures. And I was buying up lots and lots of land, building land, people, for £10 a metre. Can you imagine £10 a square metre for building land? And then, of course, you could build your own property on it and make a lot of money. And people in the early days were making a lot of money. But what happened is they got into the European Union, and as soon as they got into the European Union, they come under the jurisdiction of Europe, and everything changed. Now, in a very, very short space of time, let's say 5 years, that country was ruined. When I first went there, there was hardly any cars on the road. The police drove Russian Moscovich cars, which were really, really old and rubbish. And all the mafia, which owned the country, used to have brand new Mercedes and all that sort of thing. And of course, they just fly down the motorway, without any concern for any police or whatsoever, because, well, they're the mafia, and the police knew the place, And when I got there, I was driving a big four-wheel drive, and all shiny and glistening with mag alloys on it and all that sort of thing. And I was a millionaire. In their currency, I was a millionaire. And so I was living it big. And you could buy land and property in one day by signing one piece of paper, which was the exchange of the deeds. Just one contract to do that. You took a bag of money in, because that's how you did it. You took a big bag of money in, you put it on the table. It took about 2 hours to fucking count it. And then you signed the document, and then that property was yours, and you could do whatever you wanted with it without any rules, laws or regulations. But as soon as Bulgaria got into the European Union, then the next property I bought, it took me 2 years to get the relevant paperwork, and the paperwork was 18 inches high on the table, and every single document almost cost €100 for them to go chum chum. That's official, chum chum, with a rubber stamp. They had to do that with everything, and of course it was just extortion. It was just a massive level of extortion. So I think in the end it cost me about €6,000 to get the paperwork, which didn't exist prior to people getting into the European Union. And then of course you couldn't do this with a property, you couldn't do that, everything had to be checked by other officials, and you had to pay them to come out and to give you a certificate and to register with the government and all that. And now Bulgaria is fucked. And so when I was there was a massive influx of many people from Britain and Germany and Scandinavia and places like that, and they were buying up lots and lots of property, and they were really at the right time to make the investment, because they knew that Bulgaria was penciled to get into the European Union, and when that happened then the prices were going to go very, very high. And so that's what myself and friends that I'd met did, and we were living it big. And I speak about this in my book, how we were driving around in big fancy cars and going to all the nightclubs and got our cocaine suppliers, and we never used to buy a glass of whiskey or this, that and the other. We used to buy bottles of it. A bottle of Jack Daniels, a bottle of the best vodka, a bottle of another variety of whiskey or brandy or cognac or whatever. And then of course all the girls, everywhere we went. That's what it was. Girls. High life, fancy cars, all that drink and cocaine and all the rest of it, and living like kings, people, in our properties. So, anyway, I don't know why I got on to talking about that sort of stuff. But I want to speak about how these ideas. Oh yeah, I'm speaking about I don't want to decry people's lives and the things they value and all that, because we need to buy into the fiction. And when I was younger, I bought into the fiction. I bought into the mortgages and the jobs and the businesses, and considering that everything's real, and but then I evolved. I woke up, and and I can't say that it's necessarily a good thing, to be fair, people. I mean, it's good in the fact that we're no longer deluded as to what's going on here. We know what we are. We know this is all fiction. It's all contrived. Oh my goodness, all this stuff, and it really does run very, very deep. And this is why people say ignorance is bliss, because mostly it is. If you're reasonably educated and live in a first world country, then you can buy your houses like this. Look at all these people. They've all got their houses, they've all got 2 cars, they're all doing very, very well, thank you very much. It's as good as it gets. And they've got their medical pensions and all the rest of it, and they've got the pretty little gardens, and they go on the holidays, and they're fine. But when you wake up, none of that means anything anymore. And I got rid of everything. It just didn't mean anything to me anymore. The acquisition of money didn't mean anything anymore. The acquisition of knowledge, the acquisition of self-knowledge, the acquisition of cosmic knowledge, the acquisition of spiritual knowledge. It's all about knowledge when you wake up. And since I woke up, that's all I've been doing. Every single day, almost all day. I go and do my foraging, and I go to the gym, and I do my exercise, this, that and the other. But there's a very large portion of my time dedicated to knowledge, because you're just transfixed. That's what it's about. That is your purpose in life. Now, one of the Carl Jung, the great psychologist, one of his books, he stated that there's a very good reason why people are now living to be over 50 years old. He was saying, look, in the older days, everybody, wouldn't have much more of a life expectancy than 50. And so it was all about scratching the living, providing for your family, or at least having offspring. Sowing your seeds, doing your genetic bit as far as the world's concerned, and that was it. But then when people started to live longer, well, if you're not going to die of boredom, then you're going to need something else to do. And what else is there to do? Well, it's to launch upon the self-discovery journey, and that will keep you busy until the day you die if you're a thinking person. But it's absolutely astounding how many people don't know a single thing about the spiritual realm, about their own psychology, never read a book on philosophy in their lives. They've been completely immersed within the matrix all of their lives, automaton, and they will never ever see outside of it. And it's kind of like, well, what can you say about these people? Do they have purpose? What is their purpose? Just to be drones? Just to be manipulated and governed by bigwigs in society? Just to live and die and to scratch a living and pay tax? Is that their bag? Is that what this spiritual light being has come here for? No, I don't think it is. So what's going on then? Well, it's evident that the spiritual light beings have been beguiled along the way, yeah? We've been beguiled from birth into indoctrination regimes, and we've been blindsided, and we've been lied to, we've been beguiled, and what? I don't know, I don't get it. And that guy was waving to me. I'm like, well, oh, there's a fellow blogger over there, hello. I know, it's like when you go cycling. If you go cycling and you've got all the cycle gear on, then all the other guys in the cycle gear, how you doing, mate? Alright. And it's all that. If you ain't got the gear on, they fucking won't look at you twice. You're nothing. You're nobody. And the only people who will then acknowledge you then is somebody else on an old rusty fucking mountain bike. They'll go, oh, he's in my gang. Old rusty mountain bikes. With fucking weirdy beardies and all that. Hello, mate, how you doing? You know, this sort of thing. So, when I'm often decrying the mentality of many people, but invariably religious people, you know, it's just a fucking idea. And they swear by it, and you know, they're governed by it, and you know, they'll fight and they'll live and die by it, and all this sort of thing. And I just say, well, look, it's just an idea. And there's hundreds of thousands, millions of ideas out there. All you got to do is broaden your horizons. Just keep opening other books. Just keep clicking on channels that you wouldn't normally click on, and you'll go into realms which will rock you to your core. But that's what most people don't want, you see. They don't want rocking to the core, they don't want waking up, because it's just too complex. And then they might end up like me. You know, like a pig in shit. With the basics, rudimentary, you know, acquisitions, matrixial trinkets, you know. I've got everything I need. I've got a phone, I've got a camcorder, I've got a computer, I've got 2 guitars, I've got 2 amplifiers, I've got a mountain bike, I've got a few clothes, I've got a nice bed, I've got a nice apartment. Fuck, what else do I need? What else do I need? I've got a pile of books, and I've got money in the bank to buy more books, which I do on an ongoing basis. And I've got time, people. I've got time. And I can't imagine. I really can't imagine. It's like I now live in a different paradigm. I live in a different dimension. It's an alternate dimension. Since I woke up, I went into another dimension whereby now I just absolutely can't imagine ever working again. I don't even know how the former me that I seem to remember actually did work 12 and 16 hour days for many years. I find that absolutely incredible. How did I do it? How did I manage to cram all that stuff in? It evidently was attributed to the massive amount of energy that I had as a young person. because I used to, still do my 2 hours of karate a day, work 12 hours in the concrete gang or working for my own business, and I managed to travel all around the world. Fuck, I managed to do a massive amount of stuff. And when I look at people like Jordan Peterson, and every day he's in a different country or a different place in a different interview with a different fucking suit on, or invariably the same suit depending on the subject, and I'm like, how the fuck does this person find the energy all the time to do that? I'm in a different time dimension. I am. I just, the things I do when I get up in the morning, very leisurely, wake up about 6 or 7, and greet the day and have a cup of coffee, decaf, and read some esoteric stuff for about an hour, go and feed all of my children, and then come back in and do my music and go to the gym, and answer some comments and put some videos up, make some videos, all this sort of stuff. And then it's time to take a shower, and it's time to crack the beer and prepare your evening meal. And then there's a whole evening of stuff that you've got to address on your toolbar, because there's so many things that you've got to listen to and download, and before you know, wow, another day's done. There weren't enough hours in the day. How on earth could I have found 8 or 10 or 12 or 16 hours of employment and still have a life? It's all down to what you consider a life to be. Now, my time is all about me. It's completely hedonistic. It's I say it's all about me. I mean, I'm making these videos now, but they're, for you to contemplate things. So, that's my way of serving my fellow man by imparting my knowledge, wisdom, experience, this sort of things. And lots of you find it to be valuable in some shape or form. So that's what I do. I don't bottle beer, I don't pack chickens, I don't make phones, I don't work in sweatshops sewing these. I don't do any of that stuff. I just talk and put it out there for the world to see. And that's my bag these days, people. But again, it's all just an idea. Everything's an idea. And we go through life, and mostly we are beguiled and indoctrinated and hypnotized into what path to take and what to believe and all this, because we're given very, very few choices. We go to kindergarten, we're learning about, whatever social norms there are, of course, and then we're going to have in infant school transvestites and all varieties of freaks sitting before us reading stories about transvestites and freaks, and this is even before we've stopped wetting our fucking nappies, people. We're fucked from the get-go, aren't we? We don't know what a man is, what a boy is, what a fucking girl is. We know nothing. We know nothing. We're just like, fuck. And then we're just told what to do, where to go. And you're told that you got to go on to higher education, otherwise you'll be a loser, you won't do anything, you won't be anything. So then you go into higher education, you get in debt. It's the first port of call to get you in debt, people. And in Britain, at this moment in time, I think it's about £30,000 students pay for their university education, which is just a crock of shit, ain't worth a wank, to be fair. But some of people get a stupid little certificate and they can put it on their CV, and then they can go and be a banking slave, or they can be a slave for the pharmaceutical companies by pretending they're doctors. Fucking doctors. These people, they just look on the internet. That's all they do, people. And it's like, mechanics. In the old days there were mechanics. In the old days there were doctors. Now there's no doctors anymore. And there's no mechanics anymore. What are there now? There's just people that look on the internet for whatever the pharmaceutical companies are prescribing for what they have created as illnesses. Because what doctors do, They're all bought and sold, of course, because they get paid by the pharmaceutical companies. And the psychiatrists, every single year or every 4 years or something, they go to forums or they go to conventions whereby they talk with other psychiatrists, and they fill in forms and everything, and they tell the psychiatric institution of what new symptoms they think they've found, and then the pharmaceutical companies will gather them up, collate them, and then they will coin a name for a new drug. Usually it's just a renamed drug. It's an existing drug with another name on it, and then they'll go prescribe this to those sort of people. And so then they'll put this in the DSM manual, the Diagnosis and Symptoms Manual, for mental illness. And then this book, it started about in the 1980s, and it was about 100 pages, and now apparently it is as big as a fucking phone directory, because they keep inventing all this stuff that the human beings have got, all these illnesses and ailments and mental dispositions and all that. And then, of course, they accompany these illnesses, these labels, with pharmaceutical poisons. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. And when this COVID thing was around and people started to wake up about it, people always used to say they never taught us any of this stuff in university. They never taught us to question the pharmaceuticals or to question the efficacy of these drugs and anything like that. It was just a given that that's what we prescribed. They never taught us to question vaccines in any shape or form. It was like just accept it. They never had any criteria on it at all. It was just something that you would accept, and then you just write out prescriptions for this, because that had already been long established. Oh, go back to sleep. Don't you worry your prison heads about that. That's all been taken care of by these great geniuses in the past. All these fucking great geniuses, these con artists, that's what it is, people. And so we could speak about diet, how it's all poison, and it's all super addictive. We could speak about the pharmaceutical companies, we can speak about medical fraternity, we can speak about psychiatric fraternity, we can speak about government, we can speak about all this stuff, and it's all fiction, it's all ideas, and it's all about control and herding the human being. And what do you do? Well, it's a difficult one, but first and foremost, if you wake up, you don't buy into any of it. And you would never have your children vaccinated again. You would never buy into anything political. You wouldn't be signing on any dotted lines for any contracts for 25 years and this, that and the other, where you're completely at the mercy of them putting up the interest rates whenever they want to force you out of your home, and then they take that hard property back when they've only given you paper, they've only given you an idea of money. Oh my God, it's never ending, people, it's never ending. And I was listening to Gareth Icke last night. David Icke has two sons, one's Jamie and one's Gareth, and they both work with him in iconic.com. And Gareth Icke was interviewing Flat Earth Dave, who's apparently got the biggest Flat Earth site on the web and all that, and he's been in it about 30 years. And he says, look, if any of you that are doubting Thomases, just go onto this site and just listen to the first 4 or 5 videos, and absolutely guaranteed you will never believe in the globe earth fallacy, farce, lie again, because you will see real data of real experiments which absolutely blow that round global fucking thing out the water. And so just ideas, people. Everything's an idea. The globe earth, an idea. And who cares how many millions of miles the sun is away, and how many thousands of miles the moon is away, and how many thousands of miles the circumference of the earth is, or the moon is, and or who gives a fuck? What does that mean to anybody? What is it doing? It's just indoctrinating us with all these figures. It just indoctrinates us, and it builds an idea of a world, of a solar system, of a cosmos in our minds, and then we live by that without ever having any of it proved. Could we ever prove that the world is round? No. Could we ever prove that the world is 24,000 miles round? No. Could we prove that the moon is 8,000 miles in diameter, 245,000 miles away from us? Could we ever prove any of this stuff? No, we couldn't. Could we prove anything that about atoms and molecules? And no, nothing. We can prove nothing. What do? We just have to have a giant leap of faith. So in my book, I speak about faith in relation to religion, how it's just self-hypnosis, and then I go, well, look, at the end of the day, not to decry religions too much, but everybody, all the secular world, are just taking one giant leap of faith every single day of their lives, because there is absolutely nothing that we can prove. We just have to take everything for granted. We just have to accept what they tell us, because we can't prove this, we can't do the tests for the vast majority of stuff. But in relation to the flat earth thing, there's a very simple test that you can do to check that the curvature of the world is non-existent, and so that's all you need to do. It's very, very simple. All you need is a laser or a fucking telescope, or something like this, and you can just prove that the earth does not drop off. That's it. The whole fiction of the globe Earth is over in an instant. You see, just let me finish off on this, people. There's a certain drop in the world's circumference, according to mathematical data, which has been around for a long, long time, and all scientists will, adhere to it. And basically, it says something like that the world drops off on the curvature, I think is about 8 inches a mile, or something like that. It's been a long time since I've looked at this stuff, but whatever the drop is over the distance, the curvature of the earth is supposed to be measurable, and this is why they say that ships go over the horizon on the ocean, and look, you can see it, look, it's going over the horizon, and then when you think it's gone, then when you get a pair of binoculars, it's not gone at all, and then when he goes out of vision with the binoculars, if you get a telescope, then it's still there. There's no curvature to the earth, people. And so anyway, that's probably a bit too much for most of you, but this is the nature of delving into things, all the potentials of knowledge which is out there. There's just absolutely everything about absolutely everything conceivable in human consciousness. Now, human consciousness is very, very broad in its imaginative, perceptive powers, and so, what can't we imagine? What can't we imagine? And so, lots of people before us have imagined other things, and then they've told people about it, and those things have been embedded into our imagination, like the world's round and all these distances and all this stuff that's going on. And then we can listen to cosmologists like Neil deGrasse Tyson or Brian Cox, all those sort of people who buy into all this stuff. But I'm telling you now, people, Brian Cox, he'll die being a fucking muppet, but Neil deGrasse Tyson, he's slowly being converted because he's speaking to a lot of people that have taken psychedelics and have had many very bizarre experiences, and he's stepping out and he's interviewing all these sort of people. He's not interviewing just squares these days, and he's tending to be a little bit open-minded, and it's a good thing because he's mainstream scientist. And I always say this, and it's a wonderful thing coming from somebody like him, that he's always saying, I'm still waiting for someone to prove to me that this isn't a simulation. This Earth experience isn't a simulation. Well, coming from a fucking cosmologist, that's a new turn, isn't it? That's moving in a different direction altogether, people. So, there's hope for the fucking world yet.